Hey everybody, I'm Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, Esper Zombies.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Commander's Brew, episode 94. Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome, me too. If you're watching the YouTube video, and maybe even just listening, you can tell, but I am in yet a different place in California.
Do you remember Fraggle Rock?
Of course.
Do you remember when they would go up to the guy's house above Fraggle Rock and he would get a postcard from one of the Fraggles every week?
Yeah.
And he was in a different part of the world? That's you right now.
Traveling, what was his name?
Traveling Terry.
Traveling Jack, not Jack, but something that sounded like Traveling Knack?
That's a good question.
Traveling
I'm looking
Mac.
it up on Google.
Like Uncle Traveling Mac or something, right?
I'm looking it on Google. I am not going to Bing it. I will never Bing anything.
Don't Bing anything. There's no binging. Binging isn't anything.
I will never Bing anything.
Binging is either ringing a bell or like acting like Chandler from Friends. Oh, he really binged that. But even that is fairly obscure.
Yeah. When I ask people if I could be any more anything, that's the only time I'll Bing anything.
That's binging. Yeah, you're binging it, man. You're Chandler binging it there.
Oh, poor Microsoft. Traveling Matt.
Yeah. Oh, Matt.
Yeah.
Uncle Traveling Matt. Okay. Yes, I was close. Close enough.
Gobo's uncle.
Yeah, that's right. I can never name all the Fraggles. I always am one. It's like Gobo, Wembley, Red, Boober,
Diana.
Diana.
That kind of like depressed
real?
one reminded me of Diana. She reminds me of a Diana.
That is, that's the one I always forget.
Yeah, because she's always kind of depressed and quiet and like, I hope she's okay.
Boober is one of them, right?
Yeah, he's got the eyes.
I'm not making that. Yeah, so Boober's the one with the hat. Wembley is the one with the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah,
Gobo
Wembley was my guy.
Gobo is the leader. And then Red is the little one with the pigtails. And then who's the depressed one with the who's the witchy Fraggle? She's very witchy.
Diana.
There's no way.
Okay, you ready?
Diana the Fraggle? Okay, hang on.
I got it. Moki.
Moki? Is that really her name, really? How do I not
Moki
remember
represents
that?
a highly spiritual and artistic hippie type and usually remains quiet and contemplative.
Very witchy, indeed.
Yeah, she had like that gray hair.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love a witchy vibe, you know? Like,
oh yeah,
into it.
Witchy vibes are great.
Love witchy vibes. Cool. All right, Moki. I just really didn't think her name was Moki. I'm really quite taken aback there.
Oh man. 1994, I'm assuming, was a good year for Fraggle Rock. This is episode 94 of the Commander's Brew.
Oh yes, good tie-in.
We're gonna bring you a budget Commander deck, no card over $5 unless it just has to be in there, and $50 total. Under $50 you're gonna be able to buy this deck. Go to a website or something, buy this deck, no problem.
And I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about a lot of things here today. We're going to talk about a lot of cards. We're going to talk about strategy. We're going to talk about budget and like when to buy cards and so on and stuff. But there's one thing we will certainly never talk about. We have one band topic, and it's midi-chlorians. Exactly. We'll never ever discuss the microscopic cells that exist in high numbers in Jedi or Sith potentials and how they speak to the Force and all that sort of thing. We'll never discuss that. We won't even touch on that topic ever.
Yeah, you can find them in younglings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're never going to talk about the younglings. We're never going to talk about stretching out with the Force and listening to what the midi-chlorians are telling you. Like, come on. We're never going to talk about that. We're never even going to mention that.
And as tempting as it is, we're not going to do an impression of what the midi-chlorians sound like talking to Jedi.
That's exactly something we'll never do. We'll never go, hey, buddy, why don't you lift that up with your mind? Or, hey, incoming laser beam, top left. Put your sword there, dude. Yeah, we're never going to do that.
You'll never hear us go, hey, why don't you choke that guy across the room?
Hey, how about a little force lightning? Hey, force lightning this mask. You're never going to hear. Those are the bad midichlorians, and you'll never hear us do that.
Hey, wake up. Time to awaken.
Hey, run super fast and jump high and do lots of flips. Go. Like, you're never going to hear us do that because it's ridiculous.
Hey, I want to tell you about a great disturbance that's happening right now.
Ooh, something not right. Something not right. Like, that was what we have to assume was happening in Obi-Wan's mind when Alderaan was destroyed. We have to assume, due to George Lucas, that these tiny midichlorians were going, whoa, hold up. What's that? Something not right. Like,
oh, hold the phone.
Hold the phone. There is a disturbance in the force.
Stop the presses.
I feel a disturbance here, guys. Anyways, we're never going to talk about it, is the bottom line.
Never going to happen.
And instead, we will, however, talk about our sponsor, Wizard Tower. Fantastic place. Go pick up your magic cards from them. We have an ad from them, and we're going to play it right now.
Come on down and indulge yourself in Amonkhet pizza. Have a delicious slice of Amonkhet pizza using the finest quality ingredients. Our dough is made from the wheat harvested from the ret crop. Our tomato sauce comes from real tomatoes grown in the ta crop. We also got stuff from the other two crops, on crop and that other nef crop. Is it the nef crop? Anyway, kind of surprising that there's only 4 crops in a 5-cycle world. Anyway, the best ingredients make for the best pizza. And do you know who has the best deal on magic singles? The Wizard's Tower, wizardtower.com. Order singles $15 or more to Canada and they'll ship for free. Same deal to the US for $10 or more. And use coupon code Tower of Brews for an extra 5% off. And you'll get 3% kickback on your next order. We do that too. Order a slice of pizza and use coupon code RETCROP of Brews for 5% off, and you'll get 3% pepperoni back on your next slice. Come on down and enjoy Amonkhet pizza.
Ooh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, you know where to eat on Amonkhet, I guess.
Yep. I would love to eat a slice of pizza from Amonkhet.
Yeah, it might be a little dusty, I feel.
One would have to assume they've developed ways to manage dust.
Dust and sand.
Yeah, like they surely have thought of that.
Yeah, okay, I suppose. It's pretty much a daily nuisance there.
Yeah.
There's a sand.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, they were prepared for it.
They got sand filters on all their doors and windows. Of course they do. Also known as screens.
Tight screen.
But see, this is the thing. It's be very tight screen because dust is, fine. You could get, like, I've never been to a real desert heavy climate, but that has to be, like an actual concern, right?
Maybe all the dwellings have flowy blanket type doors that just kind of, it lets the wind in, but it bounces the sand to the ground.
But I feel like if you have a flowy blanket door, then you certainly are going to get dust and sand through that. That's no barrier.
Well, I think they're just going to assume that there's always going to be a bit of sand on the floor, but maybe that keeps it out of your food prep area.
See, I think it's this type of thinking that gets you a dusty pizza. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
that's what I think.
Well, maybe.
They got to have some advanced dust protection going on. Otherwise, you're eating dusty zaz all over the place.
Dusty zaz.
Dusty zaz. That's a pretty cool name. Hey, yeah. And on lead guitar, Dusty Zaz.
Yeah. Which metal band used the logo that's ZOSS?
Zaz? You mean?
You ever see that?
Yeah, you mean? I think it's Led Zeppelin. It's
Oh, is it?
Zoso? I think it is, or
yeah.
Zoso.
Yeah, I don't understand that one.
It's John Bonham's symbol. They each had symbols in the band. And John Bonham is the drummer. That was his. I know that because my friend Matt Ferris has it tattooed on his chest.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You must love that brand of symbols.
Oh, that's Zildjian you're thinking of. That's a symbol brand.
Zildjian? Yes, I'm thinking of Zildjian.
You are. You actually are. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's
You know
true.
what? Flip a coin any time of the day. Sean's thinking about Zildjian.
50-50 shot every time, no matter what's going on. Our boy
Hey
Sean
Sean, what
here's
you thinking?
Zildjian. I might be
We're silly this
I
time.
might be pronouncing that wrong, but if there are those drummers out there who are like, "No way, man, it's pronounced." Hey, I think I'm right. Is Zildjian? Maybe I'm wrong on that. Anyway,
And if I'm not thinking about that, I'm thinking about my favorite T-shirt brand, Gildan.
Gildan, yes, yeah, Canadian company that recently bought out American Apparel. Okay, cool.
Should we talk about magic cards?
Yes, let's talk about magic cards for sure.
Yeah. Great. So we do a roast. We're gonna roast a card for you here. You guys have sent us in some roasts using the hashtag #CommandersBurn, but we're gonna pick a card that should have been better than it was, and we're gonna put it over the coals and roast it. This week's roast is, you've seen him in Magic 15. This mythic blue card is Soul of Ravnica. 4 blue for an avatar with flying, and it's 6/6. It's got 2 activated abilities. For the first one, 5 blue. That's a total of 7. Draw a card for each color among permanents you control. And that's not all. Soul of Ravnica can also do the same cost to exile it from your graveyard and draw a card for each color among permanents you can control. Whoa.
Yeah, not great. Soul of Ravnica single-handedly making draw 5 cards not an appealing option.
Yeah. Are we doing our burns first or
Well, I don't know. I just felt that burn right there, so I just laid it down on him.
Was it an improvised burn?
That's an improvised burn. All my burns are
Nice.
improvised.
Oh no, I think of mine and write mine down.
Ooh, you put work in on them.
Yeah, I have to. My improv burns are too nice.
But you're the better improviser here.
You know what? I think this is like, so I think my improv skills rely on like listening to a scene partner and like heightening well. But when it's just like, hey, be funny about this, I need to think about it.
I see. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. I think you're very funny on the spot. So, anyways,
You, Andy.
you're welcome. Okay, well, let's read a couple burns by these listeners then.
Okay, sent in by at Boofeeg, friend of the show. Soul of Ravnica is so bad, I would pay 5 mana to use Soul Separator to make Ravnica great again.
Oh.
Wrapping up past burn victims.
Here's another little burn here. I don't even think Soul Separator makes this card good. Neither of these cards make each other good.
Wow.
They just suck.
Yeah. This is from at Jesse B. Durant. Soul of Ravnica, you're 1 gate short of a maze.
Ooh, you burnt Soul of Ravnica.
Yeah.
You can't even get that Dragon's Maze done. You didn't even help with that.
No,
You just stood there on these weird steps and no one used any of your abilities.
Yeah.
We got another one here from Mark Brothers on Twitter. He's at SuperCobra82. He says, Soul of Ravnica has to eat in their car because the other souls constantly make fun of him in the break room. Oh, wow.
Can you imagine Soul of Ravnica eating lunch in his car?
It's just more of a sad window into Soul of Ravnica's real life, you know?
So sad.
Oh, so sad. Who would have thought the blue one would be the worst one, right? Like, that's the thing that I can't get over with this card.
Yeah, right?
And of course, in with another one here, we've got Sean Watson, who is at Copain26. You know him as Sean from Commanderin. And he says, hey, Soul of Ravnica, you're like Lance Armstrong, the most disappointing part of the cycle. That's huge.
Burn.
Now, I had a slight amendment to that one because I was like, oh, I love that. It's a nice burn on Lance Armstrong and everything. And I was like, I thought it's kind of funny, though. Because Lance Armstrong is not really a part of the bicycle, I was like, hey, Soul of Ravnica, you're like the front brakes, the most disappointing part of the cycle. Who uses front brakes? And when is the right time? Tell me the real answer to this.
I think I use both the front and the back simultaneously every time.
What? Every time? Really?
Yep. It just more of a smooth stop.
Front brakes. The only time I've ever used front brakes, I flew over my handlebars and almost died. And I think that's true for 90% of the people. So you're pulling both every time.
Yeah, but I don't slam them down. Like, I ease into them.
Right. But when you have to slam them, do you only slam the right?
You know what? I cycle very cautiously. I've never had to slam them, fortunately.
That's good. I've only ever had to slam them once, and it was on a bike that only had front brakes. So that was really a main problem. And ever since then, I've had a real vendetta against front brakes. But even growing up as a kid, like I remember us as kids just being like, who uses their front brakes? Like, it just kills you. And I guess if you use them both, but it's like, no, I'll just use this one. It's fine. I'm good. I just got the back brakes. We're good. Anyways, huge burn. Anyways, bottom line is I hate front brakes, and they can forever die and get out of here. Go to bed forever. Sean, what are your burns on Soul of Ravnica?
Okay. How about this? Hey, Soul of Ravnica. Way to represent the multicolor plane by being mono blue.
Yeah. Hey, Soul of Ravnica. What guild do you belong to? Garbage?
Hey, Soul of Ravnica. Soul of Zendikar called and said you're overcosted.
Oh, yeah.
I believe Zendikar's 3 green for a 3/3 beast.
Yeah, that's right. It is 5 mana for a 3/3 beast. Well, I mean, I'll say this: Soul of Ravnica sort of fits in because it does look like it's a mummy from Amonkhet. If you look really close at it. It looks kind of like one of those white mummies, except not as good as a white mummy.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Okay. Hey, Soul of Ravnica. If you're supposed to represent the soul of your plane, we can only assume Ravnica has less soul than a ginger.
Ooh.
Burn on Soul of Ravnica, burn on gingers.
Burn on Soul of Ravnica, burn on gingers out of nowhere. What have we got against gingers these days?
You know what? That's how the roast machine works.
Well,
if you get close to it, you're gonna get burnt.
Do you have another one?
No, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got too. All right, you're burnt, Soul of Ravnica. You're garbage, pal.
Okay, so great. Fun roast. Thanks for sending them in. We're going to tell you who we're going to do a Commander's Burn on next week. So send in your burns using the hashtag @CommandersBurn, and we're going to tear apart Death Pact Angel and or its token. So I'll read it to you. Death Pact Angel, 3 white, black, 5/5 flying angel. When Death Pact Angel dies, put a 1/1 white and black cleric creature token onto the battlefield. It has 3 white, black, tap. Sacrifice this creature. Return a card named Death Pact Angel from your graveyard to the battlefield. We're taking roasts on Death Pact Angel or the token she makes.
Yeah, exactly. The overly, you got to work so hard to get this thing out of the graveyard. And it comes with a way to do it. It's very weird. I remember opening this card during Gatecrash and being excited for the limited possibilities and being like, oh yeah, Commander, wicked. This is like a big splashy Commander creature. But it turns out it very much is not.
Nope.
No. So anyways, get your burns in there hashtag #CommandersBurn.
Yeah.
And we'll roast it up.
This is becoming one of my favorite segments.
It's pretty good. Okay. Let's get on to the main topic here.
Great. So as we mentioned off the top, now that Amonkhet gives us so many white zombie-related cards, there's an Esper zombie deck somewhere out there, and we set out to brew a budget version of it. Just excited because we've always had black zombies. Innistrad gave us blue zombies, and now Amonkhet gives us white zombies. Let's put them all together, make an Esper zombie deck. Who are we using as our commanders?
Okay, so after looking through the Esper commanders and finding out which ones would be best for zombies, there are a few options, I think. Obviously, a Loro is never going to be a bad commander in Esper. I thought Mariki Ree Barrett would be a decent commander also. She steals things and kind of kills them if she wants. But another commander really stood out as something that would work really well in a zombies deck, and that was Ravos Soul Tender, who is 3 white black, but with flying. Other creatures get +1/+1. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and of course has partner. So obviously Ravos won't do by himself because he's only Orzhov. So then who do you team him up with if we're doing partners? Well, Silas Wren seems pretty decent to give us that blue. Silas Wren, Seeker Adept, 1 blue-black. Legendary artifact creature. He's a 2/2 with Death Touch and says whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you choose an artifact card in your graveyard and you may cast that card this turn. So Ravos is really the strong, like really good commander for this deck. This is actually, not only does Ravos give us white for this deck, but like he's one of the reasons to actually have an Esper zombie deck, I think, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Such a great commander for this deck. Pumping all your zombies and zombie tokens, plus returning stuff to your hand from the graveyard is exactly what a zombie deck would like to do.
I keep forgetting he has an anthem on him.
Me too, always. I only rediscovered it now.
Yeah,
like this second, and I was the one who like put this in as our commander. So and of course, so Ravos is obviously like so good. Whereas Silas Wren is really there just to give us blue, but does offer additional upside in that it's a 2/2 Death Touch, which is nice.
Yeah,
Death Touching obviously will keep some bigger creatures at bay, sort of earlier in the game probably, as well as his ability, which is if you can get him through and you can recur some of your ramping, sacrificing style artifacts, or anything else, any other kind of artifact that sacks itself to give you bonuses, right?
This is a great example of I think he's great for this deck because we're not just ignoring him to get blue. Like we're specifically, you can check out this deck list on Tapped Out later on, but this is because we use Silas Wren, we're going to focus a lot of our artifact mana ramp on the types that sacrifice themselves, as you said, so that we can just maximize Silas Wren's ability as well.
Yeah, and it's not like you must get Silas Wren. You really want to get him out to keep doing it. It's just like, and if you get this, it's basically pure upside. It's gravy, right? It's a great creature that you always have in your hand as in addition to Ravos. So. It's kind of the exact thing we all said about partners when we saw the mechanic. We were like, oh, great, you're going to have one main commander, and then you're going to have this another very good side commander who will help you out.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. So obviously there exists a very, very strong blue-black and even, like you said, mono-black zombie deck in Commander. Some other great commanders exist out there for the blue-black deck. So aside from Ravos, what do we want out of white? What are white zombies giving to us besides excellent heavy metal music from the early and mid-90s?
Yep. Besides that, So now that we can dip into white for our zombie deck, we have access to cards like Temet, Vizier of Naktamun. So we did this guy a couple episodes ago, but as you'll recall, the main part of it is you can embalm him. So he starts off as a 2/2 human cleric for white-blue, but he embalms for 3 white-blue. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature token you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn and can't be blocked. Temet can be embalmed as a zombie itself, but the zombie strategy usually involves making a bunch of tokens, so we will take good advantage of him just being like, I've already got a 3/3 zombie token because Ravos is making a 2/2 into a 3/3. I'll throw Temet's ability on it, and now I've got a 4/4 unblockable every turn. That's not nothing. That is a significant chunk of damage that you can guarantee every turn.
Yeah, and that's the bottom. That's like kind of the baseline scenario, right? Like that's
right. That's his typical use.
Right, that's the typical use. But there's other options out there for you. Let's just say.
Oh, there is.
Temet's a nice one using the new embalm feature. Of course, we also have Anointer Priest, which also uses the new embalm mechanic. For 1 and a white, you get a 1/3 that whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life.
Right.
So one thing that's really interesting about this new kind of Esper Zombies deck is that you've got that black-white drain style of play that can now be played with zombies, which is kind of new. I mean, you could have done a white, blue, black zombies deck that did this, but there's no real reason to. Whereas now we have Embalm, we have some other white zombie stuff, so it just all really comes together really nicely. The synergy is great. And Anointer Priest is something that can really gain you a ton of life, considering how many zombie tokens you can make in any given commander zombie deck, in this one specifically.
Right. Oh, you know what? I want to mention. I almost forgot. More important than Anointer Priest, there's that white-black zombie from Amonkhet that we should absolutely mention here.
Oh, which one is it?
What's it called? Renegade zombie, something like that. Oh boy. There's too many zombies.
Well, there's a million renegade things.
Okay, so it's oh boy.
Well, what you look
anyway?
at
So the gist of it.
Well, I'll just do the next card and you talk about.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea.
Okay, so moving on, we'll talk about Necromancer's Covenant. Necromancer's Covenant is, man, this is a card I've always looked at and been like, why does it have white in it? It's 3 white, black, black for an enchantment. And it says, when Necromancer's Covenant enters the battlefield, exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard, then put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield for each card exiled this way. Zombies you control have lifelink. So, zombies you control have lifelink is already a pretty good ability to have on a card. Obviously, it by itself for 6 mana is kind of a lot. But this thing that's going to just spit out, a ton of tokens, especially if it's later in the game. This is great. The reason I love Necromancer's Covenant, though, is because it's target player's graveyard. So if you really wanted to use your graveyard, you could, which I find a lot of the zombie stuff, especially the older stuff from Magic, if it involves exiling creatures to make zombies, it's exiling your own graveyard. And I'm not really stoked to do that in a zombie deck. I want to keep my graveyard stocked with my zombies that I can cast and recast.
For Ravos.
Exactly, for Ravos, for the other cards we have in here. So Necromancer's Covenant's great because we get to target someone else's library. And hey, if you're playing with a mill player or you're playing with somebody who's milling everyone at the table, it just kills. It's great.
I mean, every deck should have some graveyard hate, and this is a great card for it, to just clear out a graveyard.
That's the other upside, is that you will clear out someone else's graveyard who wants to use it against you. Yeah.
Wayward Servant is the one I foolishly neglected. Right. So Wayward Servant is a white-black 2/2 zombie. Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield, you drain it. So each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So, I mean, look at Necromancer's Covenant. Mm-hmm. We're going to get a bunch of zombies right away there. Ravos is going to pull creatures back out of the graveyard. So, zombies will be entering a lot in this deck. Mainly tokens. That's definitely the thing we're focused on. But white gives us so much good stuff. And we're just going to add that to the blue and the black. It's going to be, I think this deck is the zombie deck I've been waiting for.
It seems like the more we get into Amonkhet, the more we're going to see. So hopefully we see even more stuff in the next one. I don't even know what the next set's called.
The next set is called Hour of Devastation.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so I was thinking about this, right? So we got Samut, who is basically Naya.
Yes.
Right? We can assume Nicol Bolas will once again be Grixis.
Grixis, yeah.
So we probably are going to get a couple of hints at a couple of other planes.
Ooh.
Maybe an Esper zombie commander is going to roll in. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, that would be. Maybe it'll be maybe it'll be a white-black zombie commander with a blue activated ability or something like that. That'd be fun.
That would fit the pattern, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Anyways, yeah, neat. So Wayward Servant. This is a good addition to any zombie deck, and I think you're probably going to want blue in any zombie deck also. So this is perfect for Esper zombies, and definitely a reason to do it.
Yeah, sure.
All of a sudden, those token-making zombie cards are just also draining your entire, all of your opponents for 5 and 6 whenever you make zombies.
Yeah.
What else we have here? Oh, right. Also, I don't have this one in the notes. You want to say it?
Yeah.
Lord?
Pull it up. So Amonkhet has just been so generous to the zombie deck. Lord of the Accursed. 2 and a black for a zombie that's 2/3. Other zombies you control get +1/+1. Here's our second anthem. And then for 1 and a black, tap, all zombies gain menace until end of turn. Right? So we're already pumping up our zombie tokens. Temet can make them unblockable, one of them. Necromancer's Covenant makes them have lifelink. This guy gives them menace. We're basically turning every zombie token into a sort of Voltron thing, but each one is a Voltron thing. They're just like a 2/2 vanilla. Who cares? Give me a 4/4 menace lifelink any day.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Also, don't forget that white gives you a lot of options as far as board wipes and things like that go. Just having adding a whole other color to something really helps. But white also helps you deal with artifacts and enchantments in a way that black and blue cannot. White gives you more efficient board wipes as far as mana goes. So there's a lot of things that white brings to you. White brings exiling creatures very efficiently also, right? So there's tons of great stuff as far as if you're wondering like what is it really bringing to the zombies deck. Not only is it bringing these great cards like Anointer Priest and Wayward Servant and things like that, but you're also getting just the general boost that white gives you as far as the color pie goes. White being, I think, in my opinion, white is the absolute best support color in Commander or in Magic, I guess, but in Commander specifically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
It's so hard to evaluate on its own, but like if you add white to any color, it seems like that color can do anything.
Exactly. White does so much. White has small creatures. White has big creatures. White does tokens. White exiles things. It deals with creatures. It deals with lands. It deals with
enchantments,
artifacts. Like
it recurs things from the graveyard.
Exactly. It's got great graveyard recursion. Like that's a big thing in whites somehow also, right? Like it's so... Yeah. It really does everything. The one thing I guess there are obviously two things it doesn't do great, and that's ramp and card draw, which make it not a good like main. Like if you were to do a mono white deck, you'd have some problems. But like you pair this with green or with blue, and you're just laughing. I think
laughing.
That's why Bant is my favorite Commander 3-color thing.
Yeah,
they're just the 3 best colors, I think. Anyways, okay. So what's the next category here? What do we got? We got discarding stuff.
Right, so since Ravos lets us take creature cards back from the graveyard, we get a premium whenever we want to discard a card. And there's a lot of zombie-type effects that want us to discard cards. The first is an enchantment called Zombie Infestation. 1 black. Discard 2 cards. So that's how much it costs to cast it. You don't have to... Oh, did I go in the back order? I missed one.
That's okay, I'll do the next one. You know
cool.
This one.
Zombie Infestation is a 1 and a black enchantment, and you can discard 2 cards to put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Now, that's a huge price to get 1 zombie creature token, but when we're able to pull stuff back out of the graveyard, that's like a way to get an extra zombie token off of something. And also, if we have extra lands kicking around we don't care about late in the game, we can also do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're pairing this with blue, obviously, so hopefully we can get a lot of card draw going. So it won't be quite as bad considering we do plan on recurring a lot of this stuff. Plus, this is instant speed. Once you get this down, it's drop 2 cards, you get a 2/2, which can sometimes mean the difference between a giant infect creature hitting you out of nowhere or some haste commander or something like that, right? So
and also like knowing that like in a pinch, if you've already got a bunch of anthems going, we have quite a few anthems in here just naturally. You're probably not making 2/2 zombies. Like your opponents will think twice when you can at instant speed make a 5/5 token or something.
And it's completely realistic to think that you could do that. There's only there's enough in here that most zombies are going to come out. You're right, not 2/2s, but more like 3/3s or 4/4s on average, I'd say.
Yeah.
There's another one here called Necromancer's Stockpile. This is a cool little card. I remember when this came out in M15, just being like, oh, I think this is an interesting card for a zombie deck. It's 1 and a black for an enchantment. It says, 1 and a black, discard a creature card, draw a card. If the discarded card was a zombie card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped. So you pay 1 and a black, you discard your creature card, but then you get to draw a new card. So it's almost like a weird version of cycling that will give you a creature as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the same idea of dropping something and then making a 2/2, but the 2/2 is probably going to be bigger, especially if you get a bunch of your anthems out, that sort of thing.
And Ravos is going to get that creature back from the graveyard.
Absolutely, yes. Creature cards specifically are what you want to discard in a zombie deck, because there's lots of cards that allow you to cast zombies from your graveyard that you can simply reanimate them, or like this card, or sorry, like Ravos, just pops it right back up in your hand basically the next turn. So you're not really losing the card in a lot of these. Maybe when you're dropping 2, that gets to be around, card disadvantage, but Necromancer Stockpile, you've got so many ways to make up for it that it really isn't. You're really missing that card for like half of a turn of the table, basically. It's not even that much.
Yeah. We're just getting so much value out of everything.
Exactly.
One more card that asks us to discard cards that we might be willing to do it is Geralf's Masterpiece. 3 blue for a zombie horror. It's a 7/7 with flying. So that's huge. But Geralf's Masterpiece gets -1/-1 for each card in your hand. So it'll rarely be a 7/7. Mm-hmm. But 3 and a blue, discard 3 cards, return Geralf's Masterpiece from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Again, this is meant to be a finisher, right? We do have lots of ways to just discard cards for free, so we can start swinging in for 7 if need be. Ravos is going to get us a card back from the graveyard. We're going to draw a card. Maybe we'll cycle a card to get another card draw plus more tokens. This deck can still move forward despite having an empty hand if it ever gets to that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I saw this card and I was like, is this good? Is this good enough for Commander, right? Like, obviously in Commander, we really put a big emphasis on card draw, and you generally want a pretty big hand. And I think Geralf's Masterpiece, on average, is going to be like a 5/5 or maybe a 6/6. Like you said, I think it's going to be tough to get it to be a 7/7. But when you are ready for it, when you are ready for that to happen, this guy can just sit in your graveyard until you're ready for that, right?
Yep.
You can drop the
and
3
don't
cards
forget,
you want at instant speed. Turn before, draw, play whatever creature or land or whatever it is, and then this guy is a 7/7. So it's not that much work. He kind of sits there and just waits for you.
That's assuming you have no other anthems out, right? Like, we've already covered, like, our Commander is one, and like that, exactly. Like Uncommon from Amonkhet is one, and we've got a couple in here we haven't gotten to that we're not going to get to even. Like, there's quite a few in there. So 7/7 naturally with no cards in hand, but I bet you're holding 3 cards, it could still be a 7/7 flyer, potentially a 10/10 flyer. And,
big evasive creatures are just good. They really are just good, especially one that's a 7/7 if you can make it work for them. But yeah, you're right. You know what? I just spent time talking about those anthems, but yeah, that's going to make up for the -1/-1 that Geralf's Masterpiece is probably going to have apply to him. So yeah. I think this card's worth it. I think it's worth trying for sure.
It is certainly a budget card at a couple gumballs.
Yeah. This is okay. So we talked about discarding, and then so part of the reason you want to discard is that obviously in zombie decks we're going to be able to use our graveyard as a value engine, basically, right? So what are the things that let us use the graveyard in the way we want to? Well, obviously we're going to be using Gisa and Geralf, 2 blue, black. It's a legendary human wizard, 4/4. There's 2 of them. And it says, when Gisa and Geralf enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard, and then during each of your turns, you may cast a zombie creature card from your graveyard. So there you go. There's just one example of the discard not even really affecting you. You can discard the card and then simply cast it with Gisa and Geralf. Obviously, it has to be a zombie creature, but those are exactly the cards you want to discard. Those are the ones you will be happily discarding to get these other effects.
Yeah. So good. And then, so another reason to have a nice full graveyard is Immortal Servitude. It's an interesting card. I think about this often in decks that have white and black. It costs X and 3, and those 3 can be any hybrid between white and black. So it's a sorcery that says return each creature card with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. It just so happens that a large percentage of this deck's creatures are 3 or 4, but mostly 4. So it's not like 100%. Like, I think, you know, if you wanted to, you could tune this deck so that you have a number that Immortal Servitude wants all the time, like just crush the number 4 with it.
Yeah.
But I still think if we can get, right, and so like 3 or 4, so this is an expensive spell, so we're going to probably sink 7 or 8 mana into it. But if we do, I expect to get 4 or 5 creatures out of it, which seems fair to me. And not to mention, if we have all these things triggering when zombies enter, when tokens enter, all that stuff, a lot of these creatures make tokens themselves. So like they'll bring in extra zombies with them. I think this is going to be a very powerful addition.
What do you think is the number of cards at any given slot that you'd want before you want to run Immortal Servitude?
I would want to get at least 3 creatures. At least 3 creatures is my minimum.
Yeah, you want to get 3 creatures out of the graveyard at least. So you're paying 6 mana to get 3 creatures.
Well, it's by converted mana cost, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly. So
if you want 3 drops, you pay 6. But if you want 4 drops, you pay 7.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd pay 6. You'd pay 6 mana in total, and you'd get all the 3 drops, and you'd be happy.
Right.
You'd be pretty happy with getting 3, right?
Yes.
So obviously, if you want the 4 drops, you got to pay 7, and then it goes from there. So what is the number of creatures in your deck? Like, what's the critical mass to make Immortal Servitude like worth it for you to run? Is what I'm saying.
Sure. Well, I mean, in a vacuum, I think that's a pretty high number. But don't forget, we can selectively discard and pick out of the graveyard as we want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we know we're sitting on Immortal Servitude, we can on purpose discard a couple of 4 drops, use Gisa and Gerald to pull a 3 drop out of there that we'll actually pay for, and then use this to just get all our extra 4s that we've kind of concentrated in the graveyard on purpose.
Right. If you get this card, you've got to kind of play towards the setup cost of making it work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like that's what's fun about Commander, right? Like setup cost is something you want to avoid when you're talking about really spiky formats, but like if you get a card like this that's just fun, like it's worth the work. It feels like, like get a little cute with it. It's okay.
I would want to just run it just to see.
Me too. I've we're talking about Death Pact Angel, but I also remember getting this in Gate Crash and being like, I wonder, like how.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is good. I think you'd want at least. It feels like you'd want at least 10 of any given number. Before.
Well, we certainly have 10 4 drops in the deck.
Yeah. So
we'll look at the final numbers here while we're talking.
So I would think at least 10, and as far as graveyards go, yeah, I mean, if you're only getting 2, like that doesn't feel worth it because you could just run, what's that 6-drop sorcery that's like you get
Ever After,
right? So this is competing with Ever After for efficiency purposes, right? So Ever After will get you 2 of any converted mana cost creature, and always will give you only 2. Whereas this could give us multiple 3 drops, which I think first of all, I think they're both on the deck, are they not?
I don't know if Ever After is anymore.
Okay. So
because I wanted to keep mostly creature based stuff.
Right. Yeah, I see what you mean. So it's just like I would say it's like you just have to look at the numbers and see which one works out for you. I think Immortal Servitude obviously has the higher ceiling. And Ever After has the better floor. I'll bring up Ever After for the YouTube viewers. Yeah, it has the lower floor. Ever After, but you know what? I'm all about ceilings in Commander, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Is it a little Magical Christmas Landy? Maybe a little. Maybe a little if you're not specifically tuning for it, but I still think it can work. And like I said, I'm all about ceilings. I'm not so much about floors.
Do you know what? Right. So, I mean, I haven't tuned it specifically, but just to give you a little taste, I mean, this is Magical Christmas Land for sure. Okay. But in our 4 drops, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 10 creatures in our 4 drop slot. 2 of them are Anthem creatures, and 2 of them bring creatures back from the graveyard themselves. So, like, if we get them, we can chain them into like a 5 drop or a 4 drop or a different sorry, we have all the 4 drop, maybe a 3 drop that we want to grab. So like there can be a lot of neat domino effects when we do the 4 drop column.
Yeah, I think I like this card in Commander, and I think the more you work towards it, the better it's going to be, obviously. So go for it. Right?
Yeah,
go for it.
Go for it.
Let's do the next one here.
Yeah, this is Necromancer's Stockpile's big brother. Zombie Apocalypse.
Yeah,
3
right.
black. Sorcery. Return all zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, then destroy all humans. So like that will get our Ravos, right? That will get our Silas Wren, just in case they're out, but who cares, because we're gonna get so much more from it.
Yeah, and it's a fair a scenario to think that you're going to be able to hit a few creatures that belong to your opponents as well. Obviously, unless they're running tribal decks, in which case, unless it's humans, you're probably not going to hit that many. But generally in Commander, a lot of the good utility creatures and a lot of good commanders are humans. So that's just bonus, because really this card
we make good commanders.
Yeah, right. We do. we just happen to have those abilities. But in general, though, you are obviously just running this to get all your zombie creatures back onto the board, and this basically is just this can end the game sometimes, depending on what you get with it. Obviously, you pull out the guy that drains everyone. This can just be death for a bunch of your opponents. So,
oh my goodness,
Zombie Apocalypse is really good.
This is why I'm an advocate of Zombie Infestation, where we can discard 2 cards for no cost to get a 2/2 zombie creature token.
Yeah.
Because if I have a couple zombies in my hand and I draw Zombie Apocalypse, I'm just going to pitch all the zombie creatures and then just drop this and get them right back for free.
You'd almost prefer most of the time to have your zombies in your graveyard because of all the interactions that you can get there. Whereas in your hand, yeah, sure, you can cast them, obviously, but like really you want them in that graveyard. That's where you want them.
You really do.
So much more to do with them there, including casting them. What's next? Okay. Oh, this one's not on the note. Oh, no, there we are. Sorry, we're at the bottom. Sorry. Anyways, so one thing I did want to mention is, I can't remember if I included it in the deck list proper, but I always talk about graveyard protection in these decks, right?
Oh, you did not include it in the deck list, but I know where you're going.
So I wanted to include a card that I talk about a lot on the show whenever we talk about this type of deck, but it's Orbs of Warding. It's a 5-mana artifact. It says you have hexproof, and if a creature would deal damage to you, prevent 1 of that damage. That secondary text is actually quite nice and does come up a lot of times, especially if you're facing Necromancer. But we have this in to give ourselves hexproof. Now, white actually is very good at giving you hexproof. So there are other creatures that if you really wanted to solidify protecting your graveyard, giving yourself hexproof is one of them, because a lot of the things that will exile an entire graveyard has to target the person. Again, this is just repeating for if you've listened to any of our graveyard episodes in the past, but I really think that this is worth running in any deck that wants to fill up a graveyard. Orbs of Warding. There's Witchbane Orb, I think, is the other one.
Witchbane Orb is the boring one that costs less but doesn't protect you.
Exactly. It doesn't give you that prevent that 1 damage thing. There's a bunch of white creatures that will do it also. So yeah, look into that in any of your graveyard decks, especially this one when you like actively want to run things out of your graveyard instead of your hand. You'd be surprised how often it comes up in other ways too. Like if you're playing a Mizzix player and their plan is to just go off like crazy until they can cast a giant fireball and kill everyone. Well, guess what? They can't hit you. They can't kill you with it. You just stay alive for that sort of thing. Like I said, Necromancer, same thing. Necromancer no longer hits you when you draw cards with Orbs of Warding out. And it's, again, if it's in your meta, obviously, it comes up quite a bit.
It's one of those ones where I always struggle with the card slot. I'm like, it's a fairly narrow card, but when it works so well.
Yeah.
Like it is a bit frustrating when you cast it and you're like, well, this doesn't matter. No one's gonna ever touch it, so who cares?
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't really come up, but you know what? You can like rest easy when you get it out, even when there is no like no threat of someone doing it to you, it's still possible. And it doesn't stop all graveyard exiling, by the way. It just the ones that that target a player, which are the ones that usually exile like an entire graveyard at once. So
yeah, the ones it doesn't work on are Relic of Progenitus.
Yeah.
There's a few that just empty all graveyards.
Like, rest in peace will still hit every graveyard.
Sure,
That. So if those are your problems, then Orbs of Warding isn't really going to help you there. But it does stop a lot of them. It stops like Bojuka Bog, and it stops Tormod's Crypt and things like that. So.
Yeah, I think it's meta dependent. In metas where like everyone's just mass exiling all graveyards and orbs won't work, I'll run like a grave purge or a foot bottom feast just so that I can just instant speed take all my creatures back to my hand. Yeah, I might have to discard them afterwards, but they're going back into the place I want them anyway, so no big deal.
That's a good point. That's a good call as well. Okay, cool. Well, white brings a lot into the blue-black zombie deck.
Huge.
Especially with Ravos being your commander,
big
right?
time.
Ravos.
And we'll just wait till the 3 stars of the deck. White brings. We save some of the best for last.
That's true. White brings even more. So let's get to it though. Let's talk about the 3 stars of the deck.
3 stars of the deck coming in at number 3. White creature with Embalm, but it doesn't even matter that it has Embalm. Embalm lets it become a zombie, but who cares about that? Aven Wind Guide, 2 white, blue, bird warrior, flying vigilance. Here's the key. Creature tokens you control have flying and vigilance. So now our zombies have lifelink, menace, flying, and vigilance? What are you talking about?
Yeah, wow.
Who's going to tussle with our zombie tokens?
This zombie army is now has wings and like it's getting by you in all possible ways and it's gaining life.
Oh, man.
Ugh. Yeah, look out.
I love it.
Yeah, this is a great one. Obviously, tokens only on this one, but that's
most of our zombies.
That's where the bulk of your army is going to come from, is those tokens.
Yeah.
Speaking of tokens, what does white bring us? I think this is the biggest thing white gives us, and that's Anointed Procession. It's 3 and a white for an enchantment. This is if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. So all of a sudden now, our earlier card, what's it called?
Necromancer's Stockpile.
No, it's a different
Necromancer's Covenant. Right.
You're discarding 2 to get 2. So you're trading individual cards.
Anyway, that's a different one still. That's Necromancer's Stockpile, yeah.
Okay, anyways. Whichever one that you have to discard 2 cards to get a 2/2. Now, Anointed Procession gives you 2 2/2s instead, which is a little easier to swallow. This is the white doubling season, or not doubling season.
Parallel Lives.
Thank you, Parallel Lives, and it's as good as you think it would be in an all zombie token deck. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh! I mean, we haven't highlighted it, but we have the sorcery that gives you 13 zombie tokens.
That's right. Yeah.
So like that gives you 26 zombie tokens. Are you crazy?
Insane. Tap.
Insane.
And then you can, don't forget you can flash that card back.
You can flash it back.
So with this and that total, you get what, 52 zombie tokens?
Yeah, pretty good. That's 52 drain triggers if you have Wayward Servant.
Yeah, oh wow. There you go. I mean, talk about Christmas land, but still, that's pretty sweet. That's only That's only 3 cards you need to put that together.
And that's not the number 1 star of the deck.
Somehow.
I think the number 1 star of the deck is going to be Noxious Ghoul, 3 black, creature zombie, 3/3. Whenever Noxious Ghoul or another zombie enters the battlefield, all non-zombie creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. Again, it will hit our commanders probably, but this will most likely wipe out everybody's board save for a couple of random zombies they have and leave you your entire army to just run rampant over them.
Also, we're talking about things that hit our commanders once in a while. It's a pretty small effect to have things hit our commanders, but there are also some pretty cool options. Now, we didn't put them in the deck, but you could, like, if you wanted to, you could think about running something like Conspiracy or Xenograft, which are 2 cards that make you choose a creature type and all the creatures you control, basically. Conspiracy, there's even more. It's in your graveyard and everything, but turns them into zombies. So you can really get nuts if you really want to like protect a couple of your other utility creatures and your commanders and stuff.
And I'll recommend, this was one of your discoveries back from the brink, It's the enchantment that basically gives embalm to anyone in the graveyard. So you could let your commanders go to the graveyard and then embalm, quote unquote. Oh no, but they don't become zombies, do they?
No, they wouldn't become.
Never mind.
Zombies that way.
I got crossed over because I thought I was thinking of it as embalm, but no, they come back the same. Yeah. Anyway, options, right? If you don't like Orbs of Warding, run a conspiracy.
Totally, exactly. There's some flexible slots here that you can have some fun with and sort of tune it to make it your own. But yeah, Noxious Ghoul. That's gonna be a board wipe every time you put out a few zombie tokens, essentially, right? Because you think about it, like it's a temporary -1/-1. I'm guessing it'll be 2 or 3 times. Let's say. Well, that will not only kill the smaller creatures, but it shrinks down the bigger ones, so that your zombies are probably going to be bigger than those big creatures were, right? So, good luck.
Yep.
Good luck against these zombies.
And we've highlighted a number of cards that bring multiple creatures back from the graveyard at a time, and they're almost always going to be all zombies. So like and then again, some of those bring tokens with them, and it's just we're going to get a lot of incidental -1/-1s, but when we want to, we'll get like -4, -5s at a time.
Unreal. Okay, well, we didn't have any surprise or discoveries this time around, eh?
I mean, the whole deck felt like a surprise and a discovery to make this like the 3-color zombie deck. I loved it. I just loved it.
Yeah, I think it's really it's fun. It's more fun than I kind of thought it would be to introduce a whole other section of the color pie into an already like pretty well established deck.
Yeah.
And then you end up kind of tweaking towards what white does and making the whole deck smoother that way. It's really cool.
For sure.
Really good. I think the zombie players are going to be happy to have the white in their color pie if they so choose. Okay, so before we get to the budget report, it's time to mention Wizard's Tower again.
Yes.
WizardTower.com. Go there, order your singles, and use our coupon code Tower of Brews, and you can get 5% off orders of $15 or more. What are we looking at these days? What are you looking at these days over there?
I'm looking at buying some Anointed Processions because I know I'm gonna want a bunch of those. Looking at those, I think this is a good time too because now Amonkhet is out. I think it's neat to look towards like what sets just a little bit in the past, right? So I'm looking at some Conspiracy 2 cards. I haven't talked about those in a little while. Modern Masters cards are at their lowest right now, so that's a good time to grab those up.
Yeah, we talked about that last time, I think, where it's like, okay, Modern Masters is now no one's drafting anymore, but there's still a lot of stock going around. So now is definitely the time to grab the Modern Masters 2017 cards that you wanted because I think they're starting to go back up now.
Yeah.
And do so from wizardtower.com. Also, go over to mtgcanada.com and you can check out the articles Sean and myself have been writing. A new one from Sean just dropped this week, continuing in the partner series.
Bruce... Second last one.
Oh, right. So who's the last? So you just did Bruce Tarl.
Yeah.
Who's
so
the last one?
Will be the Simic commanders. And I think I'm going to do... I haven't decided who it's going to be yet. I'm leaning towards Thrasios.
So wait, you only did one per each color combo?
Yeah, one for each color, because I felt otherwise it would just... the 2 competing color pairs would just steal from the pool too deeply.
See, I didn't even know that. I thought you were just going through every single partner.
No, just one of every color. So by the end of the article, I'll have 10. Just for those of you who haven't read it, every article highlights one color pair partner, and I put 23 cards together. So in the end, and there's some staple colorless cards that go in every deck. In the end, all you got to do is put the land base together and just mash any 2 deck lists together for any of the 2 partners. And then you could have a 5-player game where everyone has a pair of decks mashed together to make a 100-card deck. No repeats, no overlaps. It's all going to be legal.
Cool. Or you could even like make little commander decks with these 50 cards and play like not tiny leaders, but
Oh wow.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like half commander.
Like half commander. That's kind of funny.
Anyways,
Anyways,
you have 20 life.
yeah. It's also called normal magic. Cool. Yeah, check it out. wizardtower.com. You can find all that stuff. But now it is time for the budget report. Beep, 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 beep.
This is where we take all the cards, and we're wonderfully surprised because we have access to a whole other color of cards. And we're in such a good mood that everyone stays.
Oh, okay, great. So we're just going to keep all these cards. Great, perfect.
You keep all the cards. Keep all the cards.
Yeah. So what did this come in at? We just under 50 here, right?
Just under 50. Had to work a little bit hard to get it under 50. Because so like 49.27, a couple gumballs shy. The most expensive card is Ravos Soul Tender, who's just above $5, and so or depending where you go, about $5. That's about our limit, but well worth it. Again, if you don't have one, pick one up from the Wizard's Tower, for example. I'm sure you're going to want one eventually, and I think these partners will only rise in price.
Right. Which deck was Ravos from? In case you wanted to buy the whole deck.
Right.
But
Ravos.
you didn't. It's tough. It's always hard for me to remember who came with who.
Was it from Atraxa?
Was Ravos Atraxa or was Ravos Saskia?
I don't remember.
I just don't know. Anyways, take a look at the Commander box sets to find it if you want to grab the entire deck that he was involved with. But Ravos, it's kind of, it's like if you don't want the rest of the cards, Ravos is so good on its own. It's just worth picking up. Yeah, Ravos, the most expensive card, but well worth it. You're going to want this guy. He's your commander. You got to have him.
Yep.
Second most expensive card, down to just under $3. It's Overseer the Damned. 5 black for a creature. It's a demon. It's a 5/5. Has flying. It says, when Overseer the Damned enters the battlefield, you may destroy target creature. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So Overseer is a great card to obviously just have out there and start generating zombies, especially if you're killing their non-token creatures. But it's also a decent one to reanimate if you can get it straight from the graveyard to the battlefield, but also get it back in your hand, cast it again. You're just going to be killing things every time it enters the battlefield. That being said, it's a 7-mana 5/5 flyer for $3. What do you think?
I think it stays because of the ability of just if that blanket ability. Whenever anything dies on your opponent's side, you get a zombie token. Maybe I'm Christmas landing it here, but like if you have Noxious Ghoul out and you make one zombie and that causes one creature on the opponent's board to die, then you'll get another zombie, which will probably cause a couple more creatures to die,
and then
which will give you a couple more zombies.
And then Overseer the Damned dies also because it's not a zombie.
Only when it gets to 7/7, but then everything that's 7 or more is gone.
It's a 5/5.
It's only 5/5? All right, because it costs 7.
Right, yeah.
But all those triggers will still be on the battlefield.
Yeah, that's true.
I think, you could make the argument. If we weren't doing a budget deck, I would rather have, who is the one in Standard right now that does it? It's a vampire that's like 3/4 with lifelink. That whenever a creature dies, you exile it and you get a zombie token.
Oh yeah, Geth.
It's like $20
or something. Is it Geth? No, it's not Geth. It's Kalitas.
Battle for Zendikar.
Kalitas.
Yeah, Kalitas. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mix up those two big black legendary creatures. Yeah. Kalitas would be so good. If you got one of those, toss it right into your zombie deck. Obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, if you already own one, it is a vampire, but it makes zombie tokens, which is what we're all about.
Great. So, yeah, that's a keep. And then our third one is Silas Wren. So these, as we're like, you know Silas Wren, it's the artifact guy. $250 for Silas Wren. So that's 2 of our commanders in the top 3 of the budget report. These partners are starting to climb up there a little bit, eh?
Yep. If you wanted to, if you didn't care about synergy, you could trade in Silas Wren for Ishai and still have white and blue and save $1.
Which, let's be honest, you totally could do that. You're not getting so much value out of Silas Wren that, if you wanted to save $250 or whatever, you could do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
and not lose out on much. But yeah. Overall, I think you're still under 50 here. If you're really looking to shave it down a bit more, you maybe even just pick a different commander altogether. You get rid of Ravos and Silas Wren and maybe bring in one of those other Esper commanders.
Do a Loro. Just throw in a Loro, and like you've got you saved $7 there. You can add a bunch of stuff if you wanted to.
Yep, it's totally doable. You lose out on obviously some pretty nice stuff from Ravos, but Oloro's good. You're gonna get that life gain. You're gonna get that extra card draw eventually, right? So
Yeah.
definitely still very good.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. That's the Esper zombies, the blue, black, and white zombie.
Fun deck. Cannot wait.
Sorry, that's white zombie.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We'll be back in a bit with a commander interview, as always. But otherwise, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the Commander's Brew Commander interview. Sorry, Sean actually couldn't be with us right now because he's currently swimming in the streets of Toronto. A lot of flooding going on there right now, and he's just having a blast. But we are joined by one of our two commanders this episode, Ravos Soul Tender. Ravos, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, hello, Andy. It's good to be here. It's good to get a little break from work. You know what I mean?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Got to have a break from work. Let's talk about your work a little bit. As a soul tender from Theros, we all know that like your job is to sort of tend to the souls in the underworld, and kind of it seems like you're like kind of saving them a little bit, sneaking them out, sort of bringing them back to life. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's the advertised job. That's the job on paper, isn't it?
It sounds like very rewarding work, to be honest. It sounds like, people, maybe they die of unfair circumstances or something like that. Maybe one of the gods kind of mess with them, you know what I mean? And you kind of help them back, give them that second chance. That seems really great.
Yeah. When you're a little kid enchantment, I'm not an enchantment creature, by the way, but I look like I am. But
yeah, you do.
When you're a kid on Theros and you're like, what do I want to be when I grow up? And it's like, those are noble goals. But you know what? Real life, it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you just the job market is tough.
Sure.
Like there are not a lot of decks going around that I can go into where I can really shepherd in wayward souls and help them find their way again. I mean, man, Athreos is gonna be PO'd with me.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about that because you seem like a nice guy,
Yeah, you know what? I think I went to school for this.
Sure.
I got out of school. I got decent grades.
Uh-huh.
I applied for a couple jobs. I kind of got an internship. I just kept working, and I just kind of ended up here. It's not exactly how I had it planned.
Yeah, well, again, because it seems like I'm saying like you're a nice guy. It seems like you really want to help people, but I've noticed that you're just kind of making a lot of zombies.
I know.
Which isn't, that's not like super helpful for, I mean, you're human. You understand, right?
I'm a human cleric.
Yeah, you're a cleric. That seems to be kind of like, I would think that person wouldn't want a ton of zombies running around. But here you're kind of playing for the other team here. You know what I mean?
Okay, can I talk off the record for a sec here?
I mean, it is recorded and is being broadcast, but sure.
Okay. I don't like my job.
Oh.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
No.
It's just like I want to bring back noble creatures who just want to do stuff, right?
Sure.
It's not but like that's my job. I got to put a good face on. I got to do what the boss says. I got to bring the zombies back from the graveyard. Do I win a bunch of games? Sure. Do I pump up those zombies with my anthem effect? Sure. Is that what I want to be doing? No. What I want to be doing is riding a boat somewhere in the Florida Keys, cracking some brews, working on my tan. But like that's gonna be my retirement plan, right? I just gonna keep telling myself, just gotta do this job for like another like 20 years, and then it's smooth sailing.
I'm just gonna say though, like it's a lot of us have jobs where it's maybe not exactly what we had planned for ourselves, and we're not super satisfied. But like and some people might work for a big company and say like, oh, this company is ruining the environment and it's very bad, but I gotta have something. I gotta do something. You are literally helping the zombie apocalypse happen. You're just churning them out. You know what I mean? But you're the zombies' #1 guy if they want these colors. You really are. It's no longer at the point where you're just a cog in the wheel. Like, you're the mechanism. You're the engine. You know what I mean? So maybe, I don't know. I'm just putting that out there. You know what I mean? Just putting it out there for you.
Well,
what do you think of that?
Well, I mean, you sound like you're being a bit accusatory here, right? I mean, like you're basically comparing me to like a corporation that kills the environment. Listen, I care about my stockholders, which is the player controlling my deck. Right?
Okay, you consider
they're the
that
one
person
casting the zombies, right? They're the one asking me to use my ability. It's a May ability.
It's probably more of a stack holder.
A stack holder, yeah. Stack. But it is a May ability. All right. No one has to get these zombies out of the graveyard to their hand. It's a May. It's the people who are choosing to do it. That I just want to put that out there. That's what I want to put out there.
Wow. Okay. So you're saying that even though you make it totally possible and very easy for these zombies to come back, you're saying it's up to the person, and it's
I'm not actually doing it.
You're saying
not the one tapping the lands.
You're saying zombies kill people, zombies kill humans. Ravos doesn't kill humans.
Listen. What do you think? You think making a podcast is not killing the environment just as bad?
How so?
Well, okay. First of all, how many What happens when a video's on YouTube? Well, how does that even work? Who knows how many gallons of oil are being spilled somewhere else in the world for this video to load, right?
This is all very vague and barely has anything to do with it.
I don't know. I'm a magic card. I don't know how the world works, but don't invite me on your show and then wreck my thing.
Ravos, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wreck your thing. I just wanted to get your thoughts on how you feel, because honestly, it seems to me you're in a little bit of denial.
Yeah, I hate my job.
Yeah, you're in a little bit of denial of the impact your job has on whether or not human beings live or die, and I just wanted to sort of bring that up.
I can't quit. I don't want to go back
and
live in my parents' house.
You could quit, and you could go live in your parents' house. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying you could.
I have that May ability.
That you do have that May. You have that other May ability. Ravos Soul Tender. At the beginning of your upkeep, Ravos Soul Tender may quit his job and go live in his parents' basement in Indiana.
That's where I'm from.
That's where you're from originally.
That's where my parents are. They don't even live somewhere cool.
No, they don't. You think they're from Theros, but no. Indianapolis, Indiana.
No, I moved to Theros because I thought that's where all the coolest soul tending jobs were.
and honestly, you did move to the right place for those jobs. See, you did think there were cool jobs there. You did. This is what you wanted to do.
Maybe I should be a bestow creature.
Okay, well, I'll leave that up to you. Thanks for being here, Ravos. And, I hope you figure it all out. And honestly, I hope you stop bringing zombies back to life to murder us humans. I think it would be helpful for everyone.
Not actually me doing it, but okay.
Okay, well, thanks very much, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Okay, bye. If you want to contact us, I'm at Sean Tabaris.
And I'm at Andy Holbone.
Send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com.
You can find out when we go live on Twitch if you follow us at twitch.tv.
And if you care to support us on Patreon, check us out at patreon.com.
And you can find our deck list on tappedout.net.
And if we forgot anything, commandersbrew.com.